Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I have this bag is so cute. Like I just love the look. Um I'm actually excited to try it in the black and white as well, like as the picture in the thumbnail. So what I used were these I had the pink beads. They were old beads like I had from a different project. So all I did was to get the white beads. The thread I'm using is always 0.7 mm, and if you notice, these beads are actually a little bigger than the usual size beads. I don't know the size of the beads I'm using, but what I know is they're slightly bigger. And as I always say, if you're a beginner, always go for bigger sized beads, okay? Because it makes your work easier and you're able to finish the project faster. Okay, so this took me um a few hours and 2 days to finish. Okay, if I was using smaller beads, it probably would have taken me more days and more hours. Okay, so I always recommend, especially if you're a beginner, to start with large beads. So we're making a chain of three. I normally like to start my projects using the length of the width of the bag instead of the full length of the bag. Okay, so this is one way. I'm gonna talk of, I think, about three ways in which I prevent the chainy look. One I found by accident whilst I was doing this project. So when I'm making a project, I don't like to chain the entire length before I start stitching. I usually would just chain the amount I need for the width of the bag, which is that side is usually shorter, and then I start my stitching from there. So I build from like a small box and then I build my way up. Okay, so that is one way. The second thing I do is I make sure with every stitch I pull the thread very tight. Okay, so you want to pull the threads very tight to the point where it's like your fingers are literally suffering. So you can see like my fingers look very bloodshot, and that is what you want to be doing for every project. Okay, make sure you're pulling as tight as you possibly can, because that is the only way you're gonna keep your project very steady and very firm. So if you're doing it loosely or you just pull and you leave it there, it's gonna end up being snaky, like you guys always say, or it's gonna turn into a ball and things like that. Okay, so I recommend, if you're a beginner, which I believe most of you ask these questions because you're a beginner. So if you're a beginner, make sure you're tightening the thread. Okay, as for every stitch, and please remember, for every stitch, you don't want to do a few stitches before you try to tighten. No, for every stitch. And when I say stitch, I mean for when you pull the thread through a new bead and you add on new beads and you're pulling the ring together, you want to make sure you're tightening, like what I'm doing now. Make sure you're pulling it very tight, okay, before you do the next stitch. Okay, also I'm using the thread. I usually cut mine um a little longer, probably like a yard, and I start the project with. But if you're a beginner and maybe the fact that the thread will get tangled and stuff like that is going to worry you, then make sure you're starting with like a shorter, like, length of thread, and try to like get the hang of it. Try to work your pace, then you can know, okay, I'm okay with this length now, and then you can start adding longer lengths as you go. Okay, so for the base of the bag, we're gonna do 10 rows, and then we're gonna start building the bag from there. So for every row you start with 3 beads, and as you stitch with 2 beads. Okay, so when we're getting into it, I'm going to explain it more so you guys will get it. So 10, and this is the 11th. So the 11th is going to start the folding of the bag. Okay, so here I got caught up in a movie, and I didn't fix the the camera well. I'm so sorry, guys. So there's like a blur on the right side. But hopefully you guys will still get what I'm trying to do. Okay, so to start creating the box, you're gonna go through the next, instead of turning your work around, you're just going to continue your weave through the next bead, and you're going to add two beads, and you're going to stitch that, and it will create the box, for you. Okay, so we're still using the white bead. So with the white bead is 3 rows by 10 rows, so 3 by 10. Or if you want it bigger, then you can do 12, but then still keep it at 3, so 12 by 3. Okay, so now we're gonna start the pattern. So to start the pattern, we're just gonna be doing one pink, one white, one pink, one white, basically. One pink and then one white, and you're going to close it. Okay, remember, as you're closing, you're tightening. Okay, so one pink, one white, till you get to the last but one stitch. So when you get to the last but one stitch, you're just going to do two whites, and you're going to continue the other side with whites, and then you move on to the next part. So you're going to do whites again. Okay, because we're trying to follow a pattern. So you're going to do whites again, and then we're going to do pink, white, pink, white, pink, white, till we get to the end. So once we get to the last but one, we're gonna finish it off with whites only. Okay, so yeah, so that we can get the pattern that we're trying to create. And then we're gonna start doing one pink, two whites, because again, we're trying to create a pattern. Okay, so the pinks are supposed to be in the middle, and then the whites will be like, will sort of surround the pinks. Okay, so when you get to the sides, only do whites for the sides, and then when you get to the middle, that is when you want to put the pink in the middle. Okay, so for the sides, we're only going to be doing two whites, two whites. The white color is so pretty. Okay, so here we're gonna do one white and then one pink. And as you're working, you want to be checking the project as you're going. Okay, so be checking it, and then make sure the placements of the beads are exactly where you want it. And here I'm trying to show you guys how tight this thing is on my hands. Okay, so now I think we're done with the lower bottom. So everything in the middle now is going to be two pinks, and then the sides are going to be two whites, two whites. Okay, so it's very simple, it's very easy. You can always choose any color you want. You could do like pink and purple, you could do yellow and black, or black and white, or red and cream, anything. You could, try different colors that you want, and I feel like it would look good. But if you want the classic, classic Chanel look, then the black and white is definitely the best option to go. And with that, I would recommend you go for the more pearly, more shiny type of beads, like the thumbnail. Okay, so when you use that, it will give it like more of the Chanel, the classic Chanel look. Okay, so again, I want to apologize for my filming malfunction. I was so concentrated on the movie I was watching that I didn't check my screen. But I think it's only for just like a short part of the project, and the rest of it I'm gonna fix the camera. Okay, so please pardon me. And yeah, so remember, the middle is where the pinks go, and then the sides you're gonna do the whites. Okay, so we're gonna climb and do 9 rows. Okay, so if you start with a length of 10, then you're gonna reduce it by 1, and then you make the height 9. If you make the length of the bag maybe 11, then you're gonna make the height 10. Okay, so you always want to just reduce 1. If you make it 12, you're gonna reduce it to 11, make the height 11. Okay, so I made mine 10, so I'm gonna reduce 1, and I'm only gonna do 9 rows for the length of the bag. So whenever you're closing a row, you notice you end up with only 3. So when you're ending up with 3, it means you need to close with just 1. Okay, because every ring contains 4 beads, so you always want to be counting. Like, beadwork is a matter of like maths as well. Okay, so you always want to be counting, and then you want to be checking your work as you go, so you make sure like you're not making any mistakes. At my level, I still make mistakes a lot of times. Okay, so trust me when I say mistakes are normal. Don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes. Obviously, I always edit my mistakes out, but there are times when I need to pull like 3, and then I end up putting 2. I need to put 2, and I pull like 3 beads. But because I'm constantly checking my work, I'm able to like, go back and then fix it. Okay, so and remember, you're tightening with every stitch. Okay, this time I had to put all those things inside, so you guys understand what really goes into making the bead bags. Okay, so yeah, like I said, the middle takes the pinks, and then the sides will take the whites. Okay, so you apply the same logic or the same rule to whatever colors that you like choose to use as well. So this is my final bead, and lucky for me, it ended up exactly where I needed to start making the flap of the bag. Okay, so to start the flap of the bag, I'm gonna do one white and then two pinks, because we're starting a line, so you're gonna need three to start. Okay, so once I do that, I'm gonna start weaving just two pinks along the lines to, what's it called, the, I think to the eighth row. Okay, so you're gonna start this on the second row, and then you're gonna end it on the eighth row. Okay, so you're leaving the white bits, you're leaving it out, and we're just, you know, doing pink. So if this is a bit confusing, I'd suggest you watch the entire thing first, and then after you're done watching, you can watch alongside your project. Okay, watch together idea first, and then you can watch alongside your project. So still on the pink. So on the eighth row, we're going to do one white, which is on the right thread, and then one pink, and then we're going to lock it with the left thread. Okay, so we're trying to create the front pattern. Okay, so again, you're tightening because you want everything to be steady and firm. And then we're gonna start with a white, two pinks, you tighten, and then we're gonna go through and continue with pinks to the last one, and then the last one is gonna be one white, one pink. Okay, so this is how you create the pattern. Also, when your thread gets finished, just pass it through several beads as you can, and then you're gonna start with a new length. Okay, so you guys can see I have like different, you know, threads that are poking in several places, is because those are the ends from the previous, you know, thread that I started with. Okay, so we're gonna do, I think I think, let me count. I did 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Oh, sorry, I did 8. Okay, so for the flap, you're gonna do 8 rows, and that will be it. Okay, but there's a bit of a twist to the end, so I'm gonna come back and explain the final parts of the flap. Okay, so I did 7, and now we're gonna do the final part. So the final part, I'm just going in with white beads. Okay, so we're doing the first 3 whites, and then everything else is gonna be white, white. You know, this is what gives it like the beautiful, unique look. Okay, so we're ending it with 2 whites, and it gives that distinction of this is the bag, this is the flap. Okay, but like I said, you can do one color if one color is all that you have. Okay, if you don't have the 2 colors, especially in the same size, you can always do one color. It would actually make your work easier, because you're not trying to figure out how to create, the pattern. Okay. So once you're done, you pass the thread through as many beads as you can, and then you're gonna take your sharp scissors or your craft scissors, and you're gonna cut the ends of the thread. Okay, so to make the handle, we're gonna start with a new thread. You want to go through the middle bead and the second row, and you're gonna do 2 on the left side, 1 on the right. Okay, so there's a reason why this doesn't start on the top and it starts on the second row. Is because we're trying to do like a knob thing on the sides, and I noticed when I did this, it made my bag, firmer as well. Okay, and that's actually what the design looked like. So for the second row, we're gonna do 1 on each side, and you want to keep this thread pretty long because you're trying to make the handle, and the handle is supposed to be quite long. Okay, so we're gonna go through the first row, the first bead in the middle, with 1 thread, and then we're gonna do the same thing with the opposite thread. Okay, because we wanted to create that knob, like that sort of like bump on the side of the bag. Okay, so now that we've done doing that, we're gonna start doing the handle of the bag. And notice I'm always like, tightening. And if you forget anything, don't forget to tighten with every stitch. Okay, so now the only thing we're gonna do is we're gonna be doing the chain. So with a chain, you just do 2 on one side, 1 on the other side, and then you lock the right thread. You lock that one through the second bead on the left thread. Okay, so bead videos, they're very hard to explain, so it's the explanation is usually in the watching. Okay, and you guys notice my hands are like, you can see the lines from the thread. Okay, so yeah, always make sure you're really like tightening the project as you're going. So this one, it gets snaky, but I found out a solution by accident whilst I was doing the project, and I'm gonna come back and share that with you guys. So notice how snaky and bent it looks. We're gonna fix all of that. So my thread ran out, but before I push it through as many beads, here's what I did. I just ran my fingers, tightly, and I was just pulling the length of the thing that I had done. I was pulling it all the way to the end. So I kept doing, I did it like just a few times, and then I noticed, oh, it turned my crooked thing straight. So um if you're starting the bag and you make a chain, and maybe you get that, you could try this and hopefully it fixes the whole like snaky situation. And then once I have that, I have it tightened. Okay, so now I'm gonna take the thread and I'm gonna go through. I'll be locking it on every row in the middle as I go, because this is just, this is just a chain. So I don't have as many like I don't have a broad space to pass the thread through. So I need to make sure like I'm locking the threads, in the middle, and then I take it on the sides. I lock them in the middle, take them on the sides. And then when my thread ran out, I went ahead and took the scissors and then I cut it, and I continued with a new thread to finish the beads for the chain. So for the chain, I went ahead and did 65 rings. Okay, so now you want to connect it to the other end of the bag, and I'm going to take one thread through the row in the middle and one through the other row in the middle. Okay, so we're going to join it first, and then we're going to create the bump. So for the bump is two on one side, one on the other side. We're going to lock, and then we're gonna do one on each side. Okay, so it's the opposite pattern for what we did on the other side. Okay, so now we're gonna push everything through the already existing bead in the middle. Okay, so that will be our third one to lock. And then we're going to use the other thread, and then we'll lock it on the other side, and you pull through. Okay, and this part you want to extra tighten because this is your final work, and this is what holds everything, together. Okay, so this you want to make sure you're tightening really, really good and really, really well. Okay, make sure it's okay before you start putting the thread through as many beads as you can. And also, because this is the final thread that we're going to be using, and we want to make sure the bag doesn't come apart, you want to keep the thread quite long. You can cut off a bit if it's too long, but make sure it's not short. Okay, make sure it's quite long and you're able to pass it through so many beads. I even go as far as entering into the front of the project, itself, so I can be rest assured that my project is, very secured. Okay. And once you're done, you cut all the hanging threads. This is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you guys in another one. Bye guys.